You are listening to Unstoppable Actors, the essential podcast for ambitious, unknown actors with me, Louise, the artistic director of Standby Method Acting Studio. And for the last 13 years, I've been taking unknown actors with blank CVs all the way to Netflix dramas, Amazon Prime films, TV soaps, and stage plays around the world. And every week I'll be talking with you and sharing how you can become a paid working unstoppable actor, because you 1000% can. An acting career is doable. Are you ready to dive into the episode? Hello and welcome to another episode of the Unstoppable Actors podcast. So excited to have you here. If you have just stumbled across the podcast on Spotify, hello, welcome. I'm so glad you found us. I am always so excited when I get messages from people all over the world saying, oh my gosh, you just stumbled across the podcast and I can't stop listening to the episodes. It puts the biggest smile on my face and also just motivates me to keep going and keep creating episodes for you. And if you are returning to the podcast and this is your millionth episode, well, not quite, because I've only recorded 108, but if it's, if you're a few episodes in and you're returning, thank you so much. As always, I always love having you here. I am going to be talking today about all things why your passion for acting may well be disappearing. It is something that has cropped up a few times this week, and I thought, you know what better place to address it than the Unstoppable Actors podcast. Now, before I do, I want to read a beautiful comment I received inside the Method Actors Circle from Eileen, and she joined the Method Actors Circle a couple of weeks ago. And she joined her very first live character development class. She's in Sweden. I'm in the north of England. And, because of the internet, it's always so amazing to be able to coach so many of you around the world. Anyway, after her very first live class, and by the way, all the classes get recorded, so I think she'd watched some of the recorded ones as well. But after her first live class, she said, "You are so good at explaining and creating a safe space. It shows how invested you are for each and every one of us. And the fact that you gave us different exercises shows how much you can see what we need. The exercise you gave helped me so much and I had no idea what I needed." I absolutely love my job. I love coaching actors like Eileen, like yourself, because the class that she's talking about, I gave her one exercise to do, and her acting completely transformed. And it was so exciting. There was so much emotional truth there. It was authentic. It was raw. It was captivating. It gave me goosebumps. And I just get so excited when these things happen. And that is the power of the method. So at the end of the episode, I'll be sharing with you the details of the Method Actors Circle if you would like to come and join that, which obviously I highly recommend. And also just to say thank you so much to Eileen for sending that beautiful comment. So let's crack on with the episode then. Why might your passion for acting be disappearing? Well, first of all, do not give yourself a hard time, because losing passion for acting is normal from time to time, because we can get caught up in the challenges of life, things can happen, and it takes us away from acting. And also as well, just remember, you are a human with fluctuating emotions. It is not humanly possible to be passionate about something 24/7, because things happen in day-to-day life which can take us away from acting, and then it doesn't become a priority in that moment in the day, and we feel other emotions. Things are situational, aren't they? So if you're not 24/7 passionate, it's okay. Obviously, we do want there to be that passion underneath, even when life is getting in the way and things are happening. But just don't give yourself a hard time. You're a human. Feelings fluctuate. But I've created 5 points. And these are 5 key areas, really, of why your passion for acting may be disappearing. And you may recognise one of these things in you. You may connect to multiple or all 5 of them. So the first thing I want to ask you is, if you are starting to feel like your passion for acting is disappearing, are you surrounded by supportive people? Because if you aren't, if you've got people laughing at, mocking your acting dreams and desires, or talking down, saying, oh, well, what's happening with your acting career? You've been at this ages and not seen you in anything yet, or whatever people want to say. If you are surrounded by those sorts of people saying those sorts of things, you could be unconsciously being influenced by them. It is very, very, very important that you are surrounded by a supportive community, because you become like the 5 people that you spend the most time with in your life. So if you've got negative Nellies around you who aren't very supportive of your career, guess what? You're going to pick up on their feelings and their vibes and their energy and their thought process. Is that going to be helpful for your acting career? Is that going to keep you in a state of passion? Of course it's not. So who are you surrounding yourself with? I encourage you to take an inventory of who you have got in your circle. Now, I'm absolutely not saying you need to cut people out. You can if you want to, but I'm not saying you have to. I'm just saying take a rain check. Who's around you? And it might be that you start distancing yourself from some people. It might be that you keep them in your life, but you just don't talk to them about your acting goals and dreams. You know, you've got a choice. You are a human with absolute autonomy over your own life. You don't have to talk to people about things if you don't want to. So it's about creating boundaries with people who might not be supportive, but also checking in with who are you actually surrounding yourself with. And if you haven't got very supportive people around you, it is time you do get in a supportive community. Now, the second thing I want to ask you is, have you figured out a step-by-step plan? Because when we don't, an acting career or making an acting career achievable and doable can seem very overwhelming. So what it will feel like is where you are now in comparison to where you want to be with your acting goals and dreams is very, very, like there's a lot of distance between where you are and where you want to be. And it feels a bit muddled of how you'll get there, and it feels hard. Now, the thing you need to know is that the brain doesn't like hard. The brain likes easy, it likes preserving energy, and it likes clarity. So if you haven't figured out a step-by-step plan of how you're going to make your acting career happen, then of course your passion for acting is going to disappear, because your brain goes, oh, no, it's too much effort, I don't want to do this. And it will slip back into what is easy and familiar. Now, when I'm talking about a step-by-step plan, I'm not saying we get rigid with it and it can't ever change. It can be malleable. But it might just be, first off, just getting a step-by-step plan out. Even if the plan looks rubbish, just getting one out there, just brain dumping one, gives your brain something to cling on to and go, oh, actually, this is a little bit easier than I thought. It's not as hard as I was making it out. So if you haven't got a step-by-step plan, go and do one. You'll soon start to see your passion reigniting, because you will feel like this is slightly easier than you've been making it out in your head. The third thing I want to ask you is, are you holding on to negative feedback you've had in the past? This can be negative feedback from people telling you that your acting dreams are ridiculous. It's a pipe dream. It can be negative feedback about your performances. It can even be negative feedback about how you look and your appearance. Are you holding on to any sort of negative feedback? Because when we do, when these play around in a loop in our head, it can actually make us feel like we're wasting our time with an acting career. It absolutely influences us. Now, if you've been listening to the Unstoppable Actors podcast for any amount of time, you know that when I was at drama school, because I've told this story a number of times, when I was at drama school, a director told me my acting was fucking shit. Those were his exact words. I haven't sworn just to dramatise it. That's exactly what he said. He said that was fucking shit in front of the rest of my year at drama school. And that massively influenced me for years after. And I created a belief in my head that I was a shit actress. And it's why I continue to take training after drama school. And it's how I then stumbled across method acting, and method acting was a game changer for me. But holding on to that feedback really did me no favours. And it didn't make me feel good about myself. It didn't make me feel empowered. And what it did is it gave all my power away as an artist to that one person, when I'd had plenty of good feedback from other people. But the brain likes that. The brain likes holding on to negative stuff because it thinks it's keeping us safe. But me holding on to that feedback weren't keeping me safe. It was keeping me trapped in a life that didn't give me fulfillment the way acting does. So what are you holding on to negatively that you've heard in the past that you can absolutely let go of? Next question for you, fourth question is, has life got a bit challenging for you right now, your personal life? in whatever way. Maybe it's friendships, relationships, finances, your house, flat, wherever you live, work, has life got a bit challenging? Because when life does get challenging, it can make us have to shift acting down the list of priorities. And when that happens and we start focusing on other things, motivation starts to disappear and wane. Again, if you've listened to this podcast for any amount of time, you will know and I can't go into detail about this, but you will know briefly that over the past 18 months, I've experienced domestic abuse, and it has been absolutely horrendous. Now, in that time, I have done acting, and I've been paid to act, and I've got out to plenty of auditions, but particularly at the beginning of this year in 2023, because things got so chaotic in my life, I had to put acting on the back burner for me, for my own acting career. I had to go, I can't do that because I'm spreading myself too thin, but I am going to pick myself back up with it. So it's not that I lost my passion for acting, it's just that actually I just had to put it a little bit further down the priority list. However, I've always known that I'm going to come back to it, and I'm coming back to it now. But sometimes we can forget that we need to come back to it, and that's when the passion starts to disappear. So what I want to ask you is, what would your life be like without acting? And here's the thing, even though I've had to park my own acting career to the side for a moment, I am so passionate about telling the stories of women who've experienced domestic abuse because, and I'm going to get a little political here, but the system is unfair. The person who abused me has got away with this, and it's totally unfair. So how can I not feel better about it, I suppose, but how can I make this into a positive is by telling these stories through characters, and that's why my passion's never lost me with acting, and there's a difference. Because I've always known I'm going to come back to it and I'm going to tell these stories, but I've just had to put it a little bit further down the list. So just remind yourself, why do you love acting, and what would your life be without? What would your life be like without acting? Final question for you then is, have you stopped practicing your craft? Because when you stop practicing your acting skills, we forget why we love acting. Remember, it's only when we're acting that we feel that passion and that buzz. So you've got to get acting again, even if that's reading monologues in your own personal life, even if it's practicing a monologue at home. You've got to get practicing your craft again. Practicing your sense memory, practicing your relaxation, practicing your rampage and your script analysis. These are all things that you can do without putting pressure on yourself to get a paid acting job, just to re-find that spark, that passion again. So always go back to the craft. Now, I hope these questions are landing for you. Like I said earlier on, there's going to be maybe one or two that you're really resonating with, maybe all of them, or maybe just one. It doesn't matter. But just dig into it and find out the reason why your acting is not feeling as passionate, or why you're not feeling as passionate about acting. Because if you've lost it, you can always re-find it. Doesn't mean it's gone forever. Now, I've got two ways, because I absolutely love helping you, and there's only so much I can do in a podcast episode. So I can take this further with you, and I've got two ways that I can help you rediscover your passion for acting. And the first is an auditions checklist. It's completely free, and it's going to remind you, when you start reading through it, it's going to remind you of those auditions you've done in the past where you felt bloody excited to get an audition. And then that will trigger that spark again, and you'll be excited to go and find your next audition. So that's the first option, that's free. The next option is the Method Actor Circle, which is a very low cost supportive community. Now, you need supportive people around you, and that's what that is. And it's also fortnightly audition and character development classes with weekly one-on-one drop-in coaching sessions from myself if you want them. So that would be you practicing your craft, which is going to remind you why you love acting, getting around supportive people, and getting guidance from myself so I can give you feedback on how you're doing. That will help you find your passion for acting again. It's really low cost. It's £27 a month. I encourage you to try 1 month, try it out and see how you get on with it. And if after a month you don't want to carry on, fine. And if after a month you want to carry on and you want to do more, fine. So the links to both of these are underneath the episode. Let's get you rediscovering that spark again, because you were made for so much more than a 9-to-5 job. I've absolutely loved hanging out with you, and I really hope you found this episode inspiring. If you have, please do rate the podcast and hit follow so you never miss an episode, and I can help more actors like you. And come and join one of the most supportive, uplifting acting communities on socials, the Unstoppable Actors Facebook group, where you'll get your weekly injection of inspiration, networking, and receive your free Method Actors handbook so you can become an unstoppable actor.